Well, good evening again to you. It's good to see you all out tonight, all ready to talk and have a good discussion. Topic is non-resistance, which you probably knew that. What does non-resistance mean?
Non-resistant.
That's right. What is not resistant? Or maybe
Smacks you on your cheek, you just don't smack them back the same way or hurt them.
that's right. Well, another way would be better.
They might need it.
It's actually a very good point. Webster says a principle or practice of passive submission to authority, even if it is unjust. Wasn't really sure if I liked that idea of passive submission, but that's what it says. So, then I do just a thought. I was like, well, does the world practice non-resistance? Or is all non-resistance the same? Like us as Christians, for me, I think of non-resistance, not fighting back or whatever it may be. And then just with that meaning there, just a thought I had. It didn't say what kind of authority, it said authority, even if it's unjust. So anyhow, it's just a thought I had. Tonight we're going to look at, for us, what non-resistance is and what it means. I probably aren't going to talk about unless if somebody has a question or anything, just say it. But I want to make it practical, what affects us day to day with the people that we rub shoulders with, and maybe in what ways that we need to be non-resistant in that we may not even think of. Like, what I'm saying is we all believe and know we don't go out and shoot somebody or go out and kill somebody and all that. So I wasn't really going to talk about that as much as maybe just more subtle ways of how non-resistance affects us and how we deal with it. Some of the words with it, they also had humility, patience, resignation. So for me, when I think of someone that is true non-resistant, like truly non-resistant, not just someone that maybe, I mean, it could even be a churchgoer, it could be a conservative man, all that says he's non-resistant. Maybe he wouldn't shoot or something like that, but true non-resistance, I think you can just tell it by the man or the lady and the way they relate to life. One question I had is non-resistance just an action or something we practice, or is it a lifestyle?
Non-resistance is a lifestyle.
That's exactly right.
Which would create the action.
Very true. Very true. It affects us in a lot of different ways, in areas, at least I think that we may not even realize. just the characteristics of a a truly non-resistant person. You know, like I said before, humility, patience, sharing, forgiving, meek, kind, peaceful, fearless. One quote I ran across that said that killing other people is not a testimony of love, but of hate, anger, and fear. So I thought it was kind of interesting. Then also, 1 John 3:15 says, and I think this is where it comes a little closer home to us, whosoever hateth his brother is a murderer. And so I want to talk about, maybe it's more about relationships, I don't know, but things that would fall kind of some into that category. I want to start by reading Matthew 5, verses 38 through 48. Ye have heard that it has been said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you that ye resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other also. And if any man will sue thee at the law, and take away thy coat, let him have thy cloak also. And whosoever shall compel thee to go a mile, go with him twain. Give to him that asketh thee, and from him that would borrow of thee turn thou not away. Ye have heard that it has been said, Thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. For if you love them which love you, what reward have ye? Do not even the publicans the same? And if you salute your brethren only, what do ye more than others? Do not even the publicans so? Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which in heaven is perfect. So what I'd like to do is take a couple of these actions that Jesus talked about. The first one there we see is, smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other also. Today, now, you, I, what would that be? And I'm sure not many of us had someone come up and literally hit us on the cheek. So what could we liken that as something that we would face practically today?
Back when you said we aren't literally hitting on the cheek. I have 4 brothers, and we used to do that. And if we would turn the other cheek, just to, in spite, we would hit the other cheek.
Okay.
We were teenagers.
Well, you haven't figured out then, it sounds like.
We're all still alive.
Yeah. I had to think of the phrase sometimes we hear or even use our, well, that was a slap in the face. What happens when we say that? Or
if you find yourself in that situation, we are refined enough that we probably won't hit back or slap back with a remark or something. But it goes deeper than that. There's a turmoil in our heart. And what do we do with that? Mm-hmm. I think outwardly I can be non-resistant, and inwardly I can have won that argument.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Are you referring to, talk about a slap on the face, isn't that when you totally trust someone? I think I would use that phrase more if I was totally trusting someone, let's say Keith, to run a job under me. Next thing I know, he's going direct, making extra money on it, or I went out of the way to help him get ahead and end up being taken advantage of. Is that what you're referring to?
Well, that could be one way. It doesn't really matter. that, or a little bit with what Bert had said, or even with words. I thought about too, you know, we might not have as much physical action amongst us as brethren, or us as Christians maybe even. Hopefully it's not too much amongst us brethren, but yeah, words can do about as much damage sometimes.
I think that phrase slap in the face, when I think of that, I think it can also be used when our pride gets hurt by someone else.
Mm-hmm.
If someone might say some funny things or something that steps on our pride, I think that can also be referred to as a slap in the face, and in that case, pride didn't hurt any.
Mm-hmm. That's a very good point. That was something I was going to bring out is, hopefully we're on the receiving end, but you know, this thing does go two ways. We could be the one giving it too. Hopefully that's not the case, but I think sometimes I'm guilty of that. Maybe more than just keeping it in my heart, like Bert said, maybe it does come out. So what would be a good way if we do get hit in the cheek? The couple different ways we talked about. What do we do about it? Or what do we do? How do we turn the other cheek like Jesus required us to?
I think when we truly turn the other cheek is when we forgive that person.
Mm-hmm.
Not like mentioning about physically turning the other cheek, but I think when we truly do it is when we forgive that person for what he did.
Mm-hmm. Maybe along with that, you had said about maybe it felt like a slap because of our pride. Just telling him I'm sorry, I had a wrong motive or something like that. Maybe that'd be another way to do it. Another idea I had is, let's say, I'm not sure what example to use, but you offer your time to somebody somewhere, and long story short, they end up taking advantage of you. Maybe they took up more of your time doing something not profitable and not what you went for, or it could be anything. It's just something I thought of also, that could make it a little stressful. The second one there is, if any man sue thee at law. What about that one today? What could we liken that to? This one could be a little more literal nowadays. That does happen. Is there any other ways that could happen to us? Maybe in a smaller way? One thought, sue thee at law. You think of someone that normally sues, they're after a big amount, or after a lot, or they're after everything they can get, maybe. So I just had to think about in what ways maybe could people be taking advantage of you, or taking you for all you got. Like, and what, maybe that'd be a little more like that would affect us more often than literally getting sued with money.
quick to talk about money there raises a question in my mind. I had to think of a situation that the gentleman was talking about here some time ago. I guess my question to you is if you find yourself being taken advantage of, is it actually biblically okay to put a stop to being taken advantage of financially?
I had that question down, or something similar to that, so I wanted to talk on that. Thanks for bringing that up. What is the best thing to do?
I'm not sure what you're referring to, Roger, but unless you have a bottomless and endless source, you'll have to put a stop to it.
Well, I'll make the situation even stickier. The person that's taking advantage of him is a church-going person. I'll tell you what I told him to do, okay? And you can
Yeah, you do
proceed
that.
if you want to, but I told him to, what he did to let it go, but not to do any more business with it,
Mm-hmm.
is how I would view it.
Mm-hmm.
But now, non-resistance, where does it come in? You know, it would be, to me, I would say, don't go back and demand
Mm-hmm.
what you've dealt with so far. But he felt compelled to keep doing business in his situation.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with Bert, unless you have a bottomless pit, you're actually doing that other individual. I mean, you can have a bottomless pit, you're doing that other individual actually harm.
Yeah, that's right.
But I know we're not here talking about finances, but non-resistance consumes.
Yeah.
When you talk about suing and taking
That's
away
right.
the local code and all that.
Yep.
There was a property line in Berlin area where the new owner wanted to build a fence, and the adjoining neighbor was arguing property line, and they got it surveyed, and he kept the fence 5 or 6 feet away from the property line. So he actually gave him the closeout also. Real estate, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Less.
That's
less
a very
than
good-
one building defense to mow.
Yeah, that's right. He'll never miss at 5 feet.
The comment that Roger made struck a chord with me. We really have to be careful. It's not our responsibility to correct somebody else. Because there has been a teaching, a number of years ago, a teaching going around. It is my responsibility to put him in his place because he's taking advantage of other people as well, and I need to correct his business dealings. He took advantage of me, now I'm responsible to, and others as well, now I'm responsible to help him.
Now, would it be right to tell other people how he does business dealings and?
And I'm going to gain financially from getting him help.
Along with what Roger said, kind of brought up another question I wanted to ask. Are Christians, or not, we as non-resistant people, are we supposed to be pushovers? You think of the Webster definition there. Like I said, I don't really like it. That's kind of what it sounded like. And I think business, like Roger brought up, it's probably where we probably might face it the worst. I don't know. What are we supposed to do?
Meekness is not weakness.
That's right.
Maybe I'll just say this and then I'll be quiet and have other people talk. There was a landlord, had a lot of rentals, that was his business, and he can't afford having people living in his house and not paying rent, or his houses not paying rent. and he evicted someone. And this story came back to him. The lady you evicted was sitting at the curb crying with her belongings around her, and she had nowhere to go. And he didn't know what to do with that dilemma. What about the next one? I mean, he felt bad, and he wanted his business to glorify God. So he started, if somebody didn't pay their rent, he would get to know them. What is your difficulty? And sometimes it was an easy fix. Sometimes, yeah, he could help them through their difficulty and they would catch up. Other times, he would offer them, what would it take for you to move? Well, I would need so much to rent this house, and I would need so much to move. Here it is, I'll pay $600, I'll pay $900, and you can move. And that was how he dealt with his evictions. So I
Pretty
think it was a
impressive.
pushover.
Yeah,
I don't think-
yep, that's what I would have said too. It was just a thought that,
I think part of the answer is right here in the reading where it says, whosoever shall compel you to go now, go with him twain. If we go way beyond what really our part in making a situation right, usually we can make it right by offering more than is fair. It's go with him twain. And I don't have any personal experience, but I've also heard tell in business lawsuits, if you were at fault, give them an offer way more than your cost really was. And then if they turn it down and the case actually goes to court, the judge says, hey, look, you were offered this, oftentimes it'll be thrown out. If you did your part, if you went the second mile.
I like that point brought out, going the second mile doesn't mean, like in Roger's case, just give and give and give and give. But maybe going the second mile is going above and beyond, and then stop, or hopefully something gets figured out.
Sometimes you'll only be able to go so far because of your other responsibilities as well. For example, we have to provide for our own families, our own households. If we don't, we're worse than the infidels. So if something would literally, not just, oh, we can't have such nice stuff anymore, but if it would literally keep you from providing for your family, then that is a fairly obvious choice right there. You simply can't go any further. Now, that's financially. As far as your attitude, as far as how you relate to the person who has offended you, as far as praying for them, that can go on.
That's right. Talking about that, I had a quote written down, I thought. Can't remember how it went, but pretty much. It's hard not to be, if you love the person, it's hard not to be non-resistant. If you start with the deeper issue, I guess you would say, makes it a lot easier to forgive or to be workable in the situation.
One thing I would share personally is when you have enough cash, it's easy to justify not trying to get your money or not trying to put an end to being taken advantage of by using these verses. When in a sense you're just too cowardly to go deal with the situation. I've been there. Then you wait until you're broke, desperate, and angry, and you do things you normally wouldn't. Then you didn't gain anything by using the cloak of non-resistance.
No.
I would much rather try to, I don't always do this, I'm not claiming perfection, but deal with it while you have a good attitude. Not only are you helping them, but making them fix their situation, now you can give to those you truly want to give to. It's okay to have one or two pet projects that you feel God wants you to have, but you can't just haphazardly let people run all over your business, or you'll end up being just like him. You'll end up broke, you'll end up desperate. I don't know, I don't have an answer where to draw the line. That's something I learned.
So-
In reality, your motive might not be non-resistance, or it's too scared.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yep.
Sometimes we might be enabling their ongoing sinful behavior when it might be better for them to actually face some consequences.
It's a very good point.
19:19 says, "A man of great wrath will suffer punishment, or if you rescue him, you will have to do it again." Eventually, you might not be around,
That's right.
or you might run out of resources.
Yeah. Then it says, okay, the second mile, we kind of talked some about that. 42, give to him that asks thee, from him that will borrow of thee, turn thou not away. What if he has a reputation of not giving it back?
That's stealing, not borrowing.
Oh, good point. Good point.
I didn't put it in this conversation.
Yeah, I know.
Occasionally, there might be an instance where you could possibly go along. If you might have borrowed or something, and maybe help them with the project. And that might be intermediate. Not loaning it so that he'll never return. At the same time, having the use, letting him have the use of it. Perhaps you could get to know what that landlord was doing.
That's right.
Not that it'll work out that way all the time, very often. It does.
They'd at least be going the second mile in the situation anyhow. That's a good thought.
Sometimes you just need to go and borrow your own tools back.
Yeah, true. That does happen. I think a lot of it comes back to not the actual, I mean, it's deeper than just turning of the cheek or the giving thy cloak and going the second mile. I mean, I shouldn't say it's deeper, but it's what's behind all this is if you're out for the betterment of the person in whatever situation it may be, or maybe the person that affected you in this way, if you can be word I want to use, non-resistant enough to stop and think, like, wonder what's behind this if he acts like this. Like, maybe he's a hurting soul, or maybe, who knows what it may be. And then, as we've been talking this evening, we do what we can. We go the second mile in the situation. I really think that's what Jesus is requiring here, is doing our best in each one of these situations. It's not just giving a little and say, okay, I did what he said, and just go on. I think it's more of a chance to reach out, or a chance to do what we can, and it leaves a good witness for God when we do that. Another thing I thought of too is, especially if we're talking material things or whatever it may be, is nothing we have is really ours. And so, if the only thing that really matters to us is eternity and what God would have us to do. For me, anyhow, it'll help. It really helps to maybe forgive the person, or to taken advantage of better, because my long-term goal is not about what I can get out of life here, but what I can get out of life in heaven. I wanted to look at, let's go to Isaiah 53. I know it's a very common passage, but I hadn't really thought about it, and I read an article in the Beside the Still Waters one morning. I think it's actually on non-resistance, and it makes total sense. I want to read verses 1 through 9. Who hath believed a report, and to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of a dry ground. He hath no form, no comeliness, and when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. He is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him, and he was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. All we like sheep have gone astray, we have turned every one to his own way, and the Lord hath laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed, and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before her shearers is dumb, so he openeth not his mouth. He was taken from prison and from judgment, and who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off out of the land of the living, for the transgression of my people was he stricken. And he made his grave with the wicked, and with the rich in his death, because he had done no violence, neither was any deceit in his mouth. Really probably could read the whole chapter, but it just really stood out to me is like all the stuff that Jesus went through, and all the stuff he was falsely accused, he was beat, the rejection of everybody, and he bore all of our sins, but yet he still died on Calvary. He had no reason to do any of that. He was perfect, but yet he did that without putting up a fight. And even the moment, at the heat of the moment when this was happening, he healed the ear that Peter cut off. It was just a real challenge to me that, we maybe do get taken advantage of sometime, maybe it's money, maybe it's our time, maybe whatever it may be, but we really have nothing to complain about when we really think what we did to Jesus and what he did for us. So that was the challenge that I got out of there. I hope it challenges you. I hope we can go from here, be a shining light, because we're a workable people, and also that we're not the one that's causing someone to struggle in his non-resistance.